Not much reaction there from the defendant in hearing what his fate is. Let's bring in for reaction to this verdict to discuss this in Los Angeles, California. Trial attorney Miguel Custodio is with us. Miguel, let us know what you think about this verdict. This jury coming in with really the middle ground of the lesser included charges after they deliberated over 2 days and wanted to watch that video of the incident over and over again.
Yeah, well, I think it really came down to somebody being accountable, and I think they really determined that he was the one who was the aggressor. As we can see from the video, he could have walked away. He wasn't cornered. And so I think the jury really made a good decision with this, right? They didn't go with the first degree intentional. I think with the first degree reckless homicide, I think it's great.
The trial attorney Miguel Custodio is in Los Angeles. He is watching along with this, and this, for jurors, they wanted to see that video. He testified. They took what they did from him, but during deliberations, the only questions they had were, can we see the video again? Can we see the video again? They wanted more and more views of this on video. Does that tell you that they sort of took his testimony with a grain of salt, given that he lied to law enforcement?
I think so. And at the end of the day, we know that testimony was all over the place in this case by the witnesses, and the video really is what just, I think, dictated this verdict. And I think they got it right. I think it was fair, but he did lose credibility, the defendant did, by lying to the police subsequent to the incident. And so I think the video was key. You can tell that the jury did not have their mind made up if they wanted to see the video footage again, and I think they came to a fair conclusion.
But let's bring in Miguel Custodio, who's standing by, trial attorney out in Los Angeles, California. Let's talk about client control, Miguel. Just when these defense attorneys have to make the decision to put the client on the stand, they know there are problems, and you have to own those problems very early. Are there any things that you think they could have done differently in owning those bad facts?
They could have asked him, like you were saying, why did he lie subsequent to the incident? And whatever that explanation would have been, at least it would have been something for the jury to chew on. But when you don't even mention that, it just confirms to the jury that this person is covering stuff up and they don't want to talk about that. You have to talk about everything. Defendants don't go on the stand often, and when they do, it's because you need to. It's because it's a Hail Mary type of thing. And so if you're going to do that, you might as well just lay it all on the table. And so I definitely think they needed to address that.
That video is so hard to watch, but very important evidence in this case that held Nikolai Mew's life in the hands of this jury. Miguel, I want to ask you, though, when we're watching this, that taunting turned to terror there at the end. But do you think there could have been a situation, if Nikolai Mew had not reacted the way that he did, that these young people could have faced charges?
I think this herd mentality that was being displayed by these young men was just something that, obviously, in retrospect, it's something that they regret, but they were definitely putting him on edge. Now, whether that rises to the level of taking out a knife and start punching a female and start stabbing people, obviously that's where I think the jury drew the line. But definitely there was some responsibility for starting this, for egging that man by the teenagers.
Let's also bring in the trial attorney who has been standing by, Miguel Custodio in Los Angeles, California. Miguel, your reaction to the news of O.J. Simpson's passing, but also if you had any connection to being out there in L.A. at the time that this happened.
Well, I was shocked because I didn't really see his death as something that was near. It seemed, and as we saw in the video, he looked he looked good. He looked good enough. But so it was shocking. Being here in Los Angeles, I clearly remember being in grade school when the verdict came down and there was a split by teachers that were, it just went down the line by race. You had white teachers feeling very disappointed. You had African-American teachers that were jubilant. And here in LA, this was even a bigger deal. I know this was a big deal all over the country, if not the world, but here I just remember the news every day, every morning, night. It was all OJ, OJ. And, you know, it's just interesting that the second, his actual prison sentence in Nevada, well, I've talked to different people, and it just seems that a lot of people felt that it was a verdict that was to make up from what happened in the criminal case. But very interesting, and I definitely remember that vividly.